Let me introduce to you right now on Can Media, Vello Kuuskraa with Advanced Resources International. Tell us about the company.
We're a geology, engineering, economics company that works the front end of unconventional gas plays, both in the U.S. and worldwide.
Okay. And you're one of the keynote speakers here today. Tell us what you're talking about.
I talked on the topic of what we have learned, what we think we've learned, and what we still need to learn in the area of unconventional gas, but particularly shale gas and shale oil.
Okay. And I'm just going to have you direct your answers towards me, and that'll be perfect. So I guess let's start with what we know.
Well, we know that learning can make wells better, that it can make wells lower cost, and with that we can continue to make plays economic, particularly as you move into outside the sweet spot areas.
Okay. So what we think we know.
Well, we think we know, and we're pretty sure of this, but there's the future is always uncertain. That the worldwide resource is very large. As I mentioned in my talk, we did this 700-page study of world shale oil and shale gas. 41 countries, 137 formations, and it shows that the recoverable resource is very, very large. The U.S. and China are at the lead, but a number of other companies, Argentina, Mexico, Australia, Canada, have large recoverable shale resources.
What do you see when you look at Canada? We're from Edmonton, Alberta, so what do you see when you look at our country?
Oh, I like Canada a lot. Geologically, probably the Horn River Basin and the Horn River shales are some of the highest quality in the world itself. Next to it, of course, is the Liard Basin, and probably the biggest shale gas well that's ever been drilled. Apache drilled there, 40 million a day type of a well. And then as you move into the Montney play is really more of an unconventional, tight formation play, maybe grades into shales in the far west, and then a lot of oily plays over in the Alberta side, the Duvernay and the Muskwa shales that we like a lot.
When you look at Canada, and countries have different regulations, and in Alberta we keep hearing how we've got the toughest regulations around, but they keep changing them, so we're not so sure if that's actually true or not when it comes to what our government says. But when it comes to the way oil companies and gas companies are looking at sustainability, how does Canada rank when it comes to that?
Canada ranks very high. Canada has made that a priority, and not only that, but there are certain incentives like building infrastructure and working in hostile climates in a environmentally sustainable way. There are certain incentives that are provided for doing that from Canada. So particularly British Columbia was early in lead. Alberta has followed with that. And so, you haven't had the kind of pushback that exists in other parts of the world, France, Germany, South Africa, etc., about development. And so that's a very good thing.
Now I'm going to look at your last one here, and it's no, we don't know. So what is it that we know we don't know?
Well, I like to think of it as what do we still need to learn. Okay. And really, of course, improving the oil recovery efficiency. They're only like 3, 4, 5, 6%. They need to get up to 10 to 20%. Basically, we also need to learn there's a number of goals for sustainability developing the resource. Doing away with using potable water. You can go right to saline water and recycling. Cutting methane emissions down to 1%. And then other kinds of basically disturbances to whether it's land disturbance can be solved with pad drilling and so on. So there's a number of areas here that are important for sustainable development. And then finally, we need to know more about the rock to be able to explore for sweet spots instead of finding it with development drilling. And there's a variety of techniques that I talk about in my keynote talk, understanding the stresses that exist, the natural fracture systems that are there, the brittleness of the rock, and then being able to tie all of that to how should a well perform in this setting.
How important is it, do you think, that you get the word out about the advances in technology and how it's actually improving the industry and the way it keeps the land sustainable? How important is it, do you think, it is to get that message out to the public?
I think that getting that message to the public that industry is working really hard to make better wells, to make these wells have less impact on the environment and then bring down costs. And this allows these shales to, what I call this, continue this age of plenty, not just in the U.S. and Canada, but around the rest of the world.
Vello, thank you very much for your time.
Very welcome.